Let's talk about this with Sammy Wilson, who's the Brexit spokesman for the DUP and is a strong supporter of Leave, and Tom Brake, who's the Liberal Democrats MP and a Brexit spokesman and is a strong supporter of Remain. Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tom, can I come to you first and just ask, what was the significance of what Amber Rudd had to say in terms of this off-the-cuff sort of answer to this question in the comments yesterday, where she appeared to suggest that the issue of the customs union was rather more up in the air than we've been led to believe by Number 10?
Well, I think what she's revealed is that there are ongoing discussions within the Cabinet and within the Conservative Party. And of course, that is entirely understandable because we had the debate yesterday where there were more than enough Conservative members of Parliament saying they wanted to keep us in a customs union to demolish the government's majority.
And is this for you still hope? Are you a Remain supporter? You still think we've made the wrong decision? Your party wants a second referendum to effectively overturn that decision. Is there still hope for you and your party that Brexit won't actually happen?
Well, we don't want a second referendum. We want a final say on the deal.
A first referendum on the deal, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And yes, we are still entirely convinced that this is a wrong decision. And of course, that is confirmed by the government's own impact assessments, which confirm that whichever model of new trade relationship we go for with the European Union, it damages every single sector of the economy and every single region, in particular Northern Ireland.
Sammy Wilson, well, let's bring it back to you. Do you think the issue of the customs union is still up in air? I was very clear in my head when I voted to leave back in June 2016 that a vote, as I was told by the then Prime Minister, the then Chancellor, the leaders of the Vote Leave campaign and many others, a vote to leave the European Union was a vote to leave the single market and the customs union. Are you unclear about that?
I'm not unclear at all. The electorate weren't unclear. The electorate had a very clear choice to leave the EU in its totality, and that meant leaving the single market and the customs union. Otherwise, we really weren't going to reap the benefits of leaving the EU anyhow. The government's position is clear that in the Lancaster House speech and a lot of other documentation that we will be leaving the customs union, and the only sensible exit from the EU is to leave the customs union as well, because of course one of the big benefits of leaving the EU is that we will then be free to make our own trade deals with those parts of the world which are going to be the fastest growing parts of the world's economy in future, without the impediment of having to look over our shoulders at what 27 other countries want.
Well, in fact, the idea was, yes, being a rule taker rather than a rule maker, which is one of the things the Remainers said why we shouldn't leave. And now there was expected to be this big vote in the House of Commons last night, Sammy Wilson. The 10 Select Committee chair called a debate on the motion demanding whether the government secure, quote, an effective customs union between Britain and the EU. So A, rather than the customs union. But it wasn't actually forced to a vote after barely any pro-Brexit MPs turned up. So the pro-Remain MPs didn't bother forcing it to a vote. Is this yet another, has this been seen as yet another attempt to undermine Theresa May's Brexit policy?
Yes, I mean, we're going to have this continual guerrilla warfare by those who, quite honestly, just wish to dispense with the democratic vote of the people of the United Kingdom. And, you know, it is becoming intolerable to listen to people saying that people didn't know what they were voting for and everything else, as if, you know, this kind of patronising of the electorate, as if they really shouldn't be given a say in the most important thing which affects the...
Well,
the
to be fair, Tom Brake's party, I'll come back to you in a second, they're saying they want the people to have a say. They want what they're calling a final say or first referendum on the deal. When the deal is on the table, like all these other parliaments around the rest of the EU, they're going to, they should have a say. What do you say to that?
Well, they're not. And of course, while he presents it as a first referendum on the deal, it really is an attempt to overcome the result of a referendum which he didn't like the result of. It's a typical Europhile tactic. It's been tried all over Europe. Every time countries in Europe have voted the way the EU don't want, then there's an insistence you take another vote. And I suspect if the second vote was taken and didn't go the right way, they would want a third vote, and they would argue that people didn't understand the details of the deal and nobody could get their head round the multiplicity of issues
that
which are included.
That is a fair point.
I suspect that that's what's going to happen.
Tom Brake, is that not a fair point that actually, if the British people were given another say over this, and if we assume that they didn't really take it all in, now we've got before the EU referendum, we've now got a lot more information, and we'll know what the deal is. That you'd still, if you got the wrong answer, you'd still say we just didn't understand it.
No, that is not true at all. What we would be in a position to do if we have a vote on the final deal is at that point people will understand, for instance, that far from, for instance, the European Union giving us money to leave, in fact, we're going to pay £35 billion,
which we shouldn't be.
Ongoing payments. We will understand what the implications for the Northern Ireland border is, because it's all very well for Sammy to say, well, leaving the customs union is brilliant. I'd like him to explain to your listeners how we're going to ensure that we leave the customs union and we do not have some sort of physical infrastructure either on or close to the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, and how he would then address the real legitimate concerns about whether that's going to lead to a deterioration in the security position in Northern Ireland.
Well, Tom Brake, I mean, I have to say, David Trimble, who I think probably knows more than both you or I, having been closely involved in the Good Friday Peace Agreement, he said categorically that the customs arrangement and leaving the EU has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the Good Friday Peace Agreement.
Well, whether it is or is not directly related to the peace agreement, the fact is that if you put infrastructure on the Northern Ireland border, I think no less than 5 past Northern Ireland Home Secretaries, and certainly when I went to South Armagh, everyone who lived in that area, they say that that is a major problem. And I think this is the real sticking point for Theresa May, that she's not managed to come up with a solution to this issue. They've talked about blue sky solutions that don't exist, or an extremely complex arrangement where the UK would take on responsibility for some EU responsibilities in relation to border controls, which the EU are never going to agree to. So there isn't a solution on the table.
Well, let's put that to Sammy Wilson. Look, you're a DUP spokesman now. OK, the DUP are pro-Brexit. As it is, the people of Northern Ireland voted to remain rather than Brexit. Of course, it was a UK-wide decision. But it is the people of Northern Ireland who will probably bear any brunt of any problems that do exist if there is a proper border reinforced between the Republic and the Northern Ireland. What do you say to Tom Brake's criticism?
Well, first of all, there'll be no problems to bear the brunt of. That's the first thing. I mean, for anyone to talk about border posts along the border really doesn't understand anything about the border between Northern Ireland and Irish Republic. 50,000 troops during the Troubles could not seal the border. So what would be the point in having a border post on, say, the road between Newry and Dublin, when there are about 160 other roads that people could choose to go across? You can't put the checkpoints on all of those, so you can't really seal the border. And anyway, you don't need to seal the border. Currently, we have lots of goods every day cross the border where there are different tax regimes in the Irish Republic to what there is in the United Kingdom. Not one of the lorries or vans which carry those goods is ever stopped, because people have give prior notification, post notification, they have got trusted trader status. They simply inform HMRC, we brought so much Guinness across the border today, there's the tax that we owe on it, and a month later they pay the tax. And if you can do that currently with a fiscal border and the currency border which we have without any border posts, why, when we leave the EU, if there are customs arrangements, can it not be done in exactly the same way? OK.
Sammy Wilson, the DUP Brexit spokesman for Leave. Tom Brake, Liberal Democrat Brexit spokesman for Remain. Thank you very much.